Hi guys. Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay. Yeah, great. Good evening and welcome to the Early Show with Lata Srinivasan. I'm just getting Mr. Ganesh Krishnan with me. Like I was saying, Mr. Ganesh Krishnan is a serial entrepreneur and promoter, and he's working with some of the biggest and best businesses in India today. Hi, Ganesh.
Hi.
Okay, great. I think now the connection is perfect. Thank you so much for joining me. And like I was telling you guys, Mr. Ganesh is the promoter director of Big Basket, Bluestone, Portia, Home Lane, House Joy, Fresh Menu, Hunger Box, and he also started Feed My Bangalore initiative. And I think that was a very wonderful initiative. Ganesh, thank you so much for doing that, because at this point in
Thank
time
you.
when so many people are affected by corona, and people are losing their jobs and they don't even get a square meal a day. I think this was very, very important. One of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to you was because, like I mentioned just now, people are losing their jobs. They're getting laid off, and it's a very scary time for many people. But I think it's also a great time in some ways because there are opportunities. And I think there are opportunities perhaps in the startup and entrepreneurial space. And that's where I think you'd be the perfect person to talk to and give insight into people like me, and even, the common people, common man, so to speak, onto what opportunities they can look at. Yeah, especially, if they've lost their job and they're desperate and they don't have an income. I think now is the time to start your own business or think of doing something on your own. On the other hand, there are also many entrepreneurs who are struggling to save their business, especially at times like this, because the lockdown has really thrown everything out of gear, thanks to the coronavirus. So what can entrepreneurs do to, who have businesses either in the online space, especially in retail and so on and so forth? What can they do to optimize their resources better and to save their businesses, or to, reduce their losses?
Okay, thanks Lata for having me here. Hi everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here. This is the first time I'm on Instagram live show, so it's a great experience. It's a learning. Even for a 58-year-old, there are new things to learn. So I'm very happy and privileged to be here. Thanks Lata for that. No, so I think you summarized it well. These are once in a century pandemic times. It's almost become a cliche to talk about unprecedented times. We have never seen it. We are not prepared for it. We do not anticipate this. And to be honest, none of us should anticipate it also. You never prepare your life. You don't run your life based on once in a century event. So it's neither surprising nor is it a wrong thing to do. Now that we are here, we are facing it. I think first is, let's accept the reality. Right? This is the reality. This is like a World War situation. Some people say it's worse than a World War. You don't anticipate, you don't plan, nor should you, but this is where it is. Look at it in the face. Let's man up or woman up or person up, whatever you want to call it, and really be ready to tackle it. This is the reality. So I think that's once the first is the acceptance. Once we do that, there is going to be a new normal. Things change drastically, never expected. So in this situation, you will always have new opportunities because it is new normal. Lot of things change, right from consumer behavior, consumer expectations, what the consumers actually look for when they decide to buy something, why they behave in a particular manner. All of that changes drastically when they look at the ability. Lata, could you put yourself on mute when I'm speaking? I think there's a slight background noise. I don't know if it's coming from your end or whose end it's coming from. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure if I can try that. Okay, let me see.
Yeah. Now this is better. This is better. Now it's
Okay.
fine. Whatever you did or did not do, stick to that. Okay. Right.
Okay.
So one, very clearly it's going to be a new normal. So the opportunities are very many. Okay. Right. Some of the things have changed for the short and medium term. Some of the things have changed irrevocably. Okay. So I'm obviously an entrepreneur coming from the startup ecosystem. We are naturally optimistic. So if you ask me, I think there is no better time to be an entrepreneur, no better time to do a startup. Why do I say that? Because established companies with legacy investments, established companies with lot of capital already deployed, lot of people, lot of investments that already there, are like dinosaurs. They will find it very difficult to change. Same is true with really old people like me too. Okay, right? We'll find it lot more difficult to learn and unlearn. Whereas if you are younger, if you are in your middle ages, or if you are not yet started up, you don't have legacy issues of large investment, large factory capacity investment. For you to, you are literally footloose and fancy free. For you to be able to jump up and take advantage of the new normal, new opportunities is lot more easier than existing people with 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 employees and investments and all of that stuff. So there is no better time than now, one. Two, whenever there is a structural change or a disruption, it always favors the incumbents, the new players, new entrants, rather than the incumbents. So you can model your business, your startup, to cater to the new normal, new demand, new behavior. For an existing guy to change is very difficult. It's almost like we have seen this multiple times in the past. When we started Big Basket at that time, okay, right? It would have been technically, logically speaking, it would have been far easier for a Reliance or a Future Group or a Spencer's or a Nilgiris to start online grocery. Or when we started Portia Medical, it would have been very easy for a established hospital, Workhart or Columbia Asia or somebody big names like that, to start a outside of hospital healthcare company. Why? They already have a brand, they already have doctors, they already have processes, they have the domain expertise and all of that stuff. But it never works that way. Whenever there is a change in status quo, there is a disruption, it is a new entrant. Look at it even in the worldwide also. The IBM did not start Microsoft. Microsoft did not start Google. Google did not start Facebook. Facebook did not start Twitter. Twitter did not start Snap. So you look at the history. Even though logically speaking, there is always so many reasons why an incumbent or an existing large player should be able to start it. Infosys did not start Flipkart. Flipkart did not start Big Basket. Big Basket did not start OYO. So you have examples. So I think this is the best start. So in summary, accept the reality, chin up, great opportunity. Okay, right? If you are willing to take the bull by the horns and go with it.
Okay. Do you think there are lessons for entrepreneurs at this time, thanks to the crisis and the lockdown, and like you said, the consumer behavior, change in consumer behavior? Do you think there are lessons for entrepreneurs in this and even going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as an entrepreneur, one thing that you are used to is the huge uncertainty, the high tolerance for ambiguity, the ability to pivot. That's a jargon we use when things fail and we have to do something new. So all this comes as natural DNA. Okay, every day the entrepreneur, just during the course of the day, goes through huge mood swings, right from deep depression and why am I doing this, to high euphoria, and many times more than once during the daytime. So they are quite used to this. So there are a lot of lessons that entrepreneur anyway keeps learning. But to be fair, this is beyond all that. All the entrepreneurs that I know of, including myself, have been stunned and shocked by the level of disruption this pandemic has created. We never expected overnight shutdown. We never expected that revenues will come down to zero. What we are used to is uncertain demand. We are used to changing consumer behavior. We are used to mood swings. We are used to a competitor spending a hell of a lot of money, negating all your efforts. We are used to a lot of uncertainty and heartburn and headache and sleepless nights. We are not used to overnight lockdown globally, sealing of state borders,
Right.
stoppage of going out, okay, all of that stuff. So this has caught us by unaware. Too early to say learning, but some of the common threads that has clearly come out is that if you still need to go back to basics of entrepreneurship. Don't go after valuations, don't go after vanity metrics, don't go after a high burn for market share, thinking that next round investment will happen at a higher valuation, next round some other investor will come in. Those work very well during the bull run. It work very well during when the markets keep going up. Okay,
Right.
but whenever that music stops, you get back to fundamentals of basics. What are basics? Focus on big core pain points: roti, kapda, makan, healthcare, education.
Right.
They'll always be there. Focus on following the money. Focus on making money per order, or focus on
Right.
what the jargon we use is unit metrics. For every order, the money you make, the money that you spend, is it positive? Do you get at least one order? Don't try to buy market share. Don't burn money hoping that the next round will happen in the next 3 months or 4 months, which does happen in bullish markets. Those are normal things. But to be fair to the entrepreneur, these are cycles that the entrepreneurs see every 2 to 3 years. We go through
Right.
this up and down swings every time. So those are the normal learnings. But I would overemphasize too much on learnings from this, because once in a century pandemic is very difficult to predict or plan for.
Right. But one of the biggest things that's happened is the kind of job losses that we're seeing, across industries. It's not confined to one sector or the other. And that, I think, has been, it's been a bit shocking, to say the least, because the pandemic has just turned everything upside down. So how are people going to recover? Do you think, would you say, like, self-start, be a self-starter, start doing X, Y, Z, or, just wait for some time till the economy recovers and things will, pan out after 6 months or a year or whatever?
So this is a very, very tough question. And this is, in my opinion, other than the actual death and the virus and the vulnerable sections of the society losing their lives, single biggest thing is the job losses, the skills that is there. See, even before the pandemic, we were moving towards a situation where the nature of the job, the kind of skills needed, were undergoing a drastic change. Be
Right.
it automation, be it automation, be it AI and ML, being chatbots, robotics, all these were anyway changing the nature of the job, the number of people required. Fortunately, we also had some of the new age industries, be it the hyper-local delivery, Swiggy's and Zomatos of the world, or Big Basket and Flipkarts of the world, or companies like Portia Medical employing over 4,000 healthcare workers. So there were new age jobs that were getting created, fortunately. But even then, the nature of the jobs were changing. The number of programmers you required was undergoing a drastic change because of AI and ML. The number of people you required in a factory was undergoing a change. Robotics were changing it. So therefore, there is already, we are facing a situation where the kind of job needed in the next 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years was undergoing a drastic change. Even if you take computer programmers, the kind of programming skills that are required, the number of managers required to run an organization, the middle management layers, flatter organization, all of this was directly affecting the number of people required to run a company. Now, what has happened post-COVID, this has further got accelerated. I think again we are hearing some background noise. Is there a way to fix it?
No.
Yeah, perfect. You did say you're a magician. You do something right and it gets fixed. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just a thought or telepathy.
Just the
Yeah,
connection. Yeah.
yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, right, perfect. So what I was saying was, even before that, there was a major change that was happening. Okay, right? Now, post-COVID, it has undergone an exponential change. Whether it is remote working, whether it is reluctance of people to go to cruise or go to a huge crowded place for years to come, working in air-conditioned environment, the entire concept of travel and tourism industry changing in its nature, hotel industry, hospitality industry changing in nature, people preferring like the way we are doing live
Yeah.
seminars rather than events that are there. So
Yeah.
all of that is going to put a huge pressure on the job scenario and requirement. Okay, right? So also if you add to it things like social distancing requirement, if
Yeah.
a restaurant or a hotel could accommodate 100 people earlier, now it can accommodate only 50 people. If you have only 50 people, the number of people employees required to serve the 50 people is going to be halved, if not lower. And that's not going to change because social distancing is there to stay for some more time. You cannot expand the size of the hotel. So you will see a lot of job losses, change of job. Now back to your key question. What does one person do? What does a person do? I think there are two solutions. One, of course, is can you look at self-employment, whether you call it entrepreneurship, startup, or self-employment? I think that's a great possibility. People are accepting remote working. People are accepting virtual working. People are accepting what we call as gig economy, freelancing work. You can do pieces of work and get paid for that time. The concept of lifelong employment anyway was getting challenged even pre-COVID. You had large companies laying off people. Startups were always laying off people and hiring people and all of that stuff. Okay, right? So given the fact that lifelong employment is changing, you can do remote working, you can do virtual working, you can do gig economy, you can do time sliced work, part-time work. That is one great opportunity. Okay, right? For you, can you start your own self-employment where you hire your time and resources, working from home or working from co-working space? That's one. Two is, can you reskill yourself? This is most critical. Not everybody can be self-employed. A lot of people either don't have the idea or can do only part of the work. They are not entrepreneurs. You don't have to be entrepreneur. Right? It's perfectly fine to be a good contributing productive employee. For them, the only answer is, can you reskill yourself? Because the old skills are literally gone. There are very few skills that will get valued. Today, people will value a different kind of skill. They need a different kind of expectation from employees. Therefore, it's very critical that you be able to learn new skills, whether it is new language, whether it's new computer programming skills, new project management skills, or anything that is new that you need to learn so that you are relevant in the new post-COVID employment market is key. Okay, right? And each one of us owes it to ourselves. Because let's face it, the concept of lifelong employment, like the way government, like the way public sector, like the way large corporates had, is gone. They just cannot afford it. They will lay off people. Otherwise, they cannot survive. Whether it's large company or small company, it doesn't matter. So the only way you can insulate and protect yourself is by doing that. The third thing, which is true for companies and individuals, go very low on debt. Till the time you know that you are able to service the debt, debt is a killer. I'm not saying don't borrow, don't take loans for your first house that you want to stay in. But beyond a roof over your head and a basic conveyance, don't get into debt. Whenever in crisis time, whenever in trouble time, it's debt that kills you. Whether you are a company, whether you are MSME, startup, corporate, and we have seen this leveraging, pledging your shares and leveraging challenge with Future Group. You have seen this with Kingfisher Group, Kingfisher Airlines, and all of that stuff. So that's the thing. Stay nimble, stay nimble, stay nimble, don't take that, learn the new skills, look at it as a gig employment, see if you can start and be self-employed, any of these challenges or a combination of this to be able to do that. And use the downtime to learn. To use again another favorite cliche, when the sea is rough, the fishermen tend to their nets, right? So right now is the time to tend to your net. See what you can learn. Once again, I need your magic hand to reduce the...
I don't know what...
Perfect.
But one of the businesses or, a sector which seems to be doing relatively okay is the technology and digital businesses. Do you think, what are the kind of opportunities there in the digital and technology space? Because due to the lockdown, everybody is going online, everybody's, it's only through technological interface. Like for instance, now I'm doing this interview through Instagram. This is what has been happening. Meetings are now on Zoom. People have just completely shifted to the online space. So is this a sector that people should be actively looking at, to kind of look at opportunities in the space?
Yeah, so what you're saying is true in terms of consumer behavior, but the important point for the listeners and the viewers to take is really that what does this mean for them? Okay, right? So people are not going to go to an air-conditioned, covered, crowded arena to listen to a big music concert for quite some time to come. Similarly, their willingness to go and spend 2 weeks in a cruise closeted with people is not going to happen that easily. Right? It's going to be a long, long time to come. So there are changes in behavior where people consume content, or they speak to each other, or they have a Zoom party, or they socialize, or they read, watch video, entertainment, or play games, all of that virtually online. So that part of it, what you said, is fully correct and fully true. But the interpretation from there is not that they get into those. The interpretation from there is, what is it that human behavior, what people want, what people need, what they will not compromise on, and can I use these changes in behavior to provide that? For example, if you are running a sports academy, what can I do to provide the same thing to my audience or my customers online and virtually? Similarly, if you are a journalist, what can I do to give them content? They are not going to buy a paper or a magazine and read it. That is very far-fetched. So can I create this kind of video, short-term video, entertainment, news, items, engagement, whatever they would have done in a physical pre-COVID world? Can I create them virtually? Can I provide it to them? Now, some of the goods like grocery, like food, for example, is difficult. You still have to physically take it and get it there. Okay, right? But at the same time, can I use most of the online means and methods and consumer behavior available to get them the food? Can I help them cook their food? If I send you ready to cook food home and I get you on Instagram like this, can I help you do that stuff? Can I do that? Would you be more comfortable? Okay, right? So I need to again focus on the core basic need. We talked about roti, kapda, makan, education, entertainment, and healthcare. Can I provide those, but through online, through virtual, as much as possible, and balance of it with physical delivery? So that's take another example. People will focus post-COVID more on immunity building, on nutrition, on health. So if I'm a FMCG brand, can I focus more on health, nutrition, immunity building brands? And people are going to be reluctant to go to physical retail stores to buy for quite some time. So if I'm going to be in that space, can I start a direct to consumer brand? Can I market it through Instagram and influencers, because people are spending more time on online? And in the Instagram and Facebook page and in the Twitter page, can I give a direct link to buy, so that I'm able to sell to them directly? So direct to consumer brands focused on new needs of health and nutrition, sold directly through using all these virtual things, the behavior changes that you talked about at the beginning of the question, is the way to go.
Right. One of the key factors, which, like as we were talking about this, it struck me that the entertainment space, people can no longer go to theaters, right? And OTT platforms are really, they've really picked up in terms of, online, whatever is online, online media, I should say, in entertainment. But is there going to be opportunity in such niche spaces, maybe online gaming, certain things in the media and entertainment space? I'm specifically asking with reference to that, since, theaters are now kind of out of, people are not going to go out of here, at least for the next 6 months.
Yeah. So you know this better because you have been in the space. You also talked talked about producers, talked about producers versus
Yeah.
producers versus theaters and the controversy that's going on and all that. See,
Yeah.
Lata, the point is like this: whether we like it or not, irrespective of which side you are on and all that, the fact is people are not going to go. They may go reluctantly. They are not going to be happy going. I cannot see myself enjoying the experience of being in a theater, which I used to love, or being in a cruise for 3 hours, eating popcorn from the thing and staying at the theater and meeting with people and doing that. That mentally, not 6 months, even year, 2 year, 3 year, given a choice, I will not do that. So given that, you will find OTT, you will find online as the place to go. Unfortunately, that's what it is. So whether it is IPL games or football leagues played without spectators but people watching,
Right.
having some kind of house party or some kind of apps by which you can still create a virtual friends group, a
Right.
friends gang,
Yeah.
eating, drinking from their home, sharing the same jokes, sharing the same camaraderie. That is what is going to happen. We still don't have full tools for that, but
Right.
that's what is going to happen, because the alternative that I will go and visit that looks very, very unlikely. So to answer your question, those niche will become mainstay.
Okay.
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 And just like I'm happy to do that, but when I step out, I have to wear the mask.
Yeah.
Whatever may be the luxury brands, I don't wear any luxury brand by the way, but whatever is the luxury brands that we wear, we still need to have a mask to cover our face. Okay, right?
Right.
So what's
Yeah.
going to happen? What's going to happen to the beauty industry? Okay, right?
Yeah,
The first
exactly.
casualty, and I can tell you, I can tell you, the Botox industry was the first casualty. Okay, right? Nobody wants to get it Botox done. Okay, right?
Yeah.
So there are going to be there are collateral damages and consequential damages. It will come to this. So there is no choice. You will find online gaming going up for want of better choice. Do I like it? No, I still go. Now once the clubs opened up and I could play tennis, last 2 weeks I've been going early morning for tennis because I love it. I can't understand how any online thing is going to replace my tennis. I really don't understand. But I can very well see how each of the Grand Slam tournaments I will have to watch online, and most of us will have to watch online. Hopefully, the players will wear mask and come and play and all that stuff. And it's a poor substitute. But life has to be like that.
Yeah, yeah. I completely get it because even the Olympics next year, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen at this point. But do you think new
Let me
business-
let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What do you think about journalism and media, especially entertainment? What do you see that happening, say in the next 2 years? Forget about 6 months; it's fine.
Yeah,
Because these are pandemic times. Okay, right?
Yeah, yeah.
2 year time frame. What do you think will happen?
Well, according to me, this is something which I've been saying quite some time, is that newspapers are, slowly going to die. I mean, we've already seen it in the US. They're already dying and people have completely, moved to the online space and where you subscribe and you pay, it's pay per subscription and so on. But in India, the belief amongst the media houses was that newspapers are still very strong, and at least for the next 10 years, digital will not pick up. But now what's happened, if you pick up the newspaper today, there are no ads. Nobody is advertising. I mean, it's just 4 or 5 sheets of just plain, text. And if you're not getting revenues in, then how are you going to keep publishing? I mean, which is why we saw a lot of layoffs and so on and so forth. So I honestly believe that digital is the way to go as far as journalism, media, and even the entertainment business is concerned. And we've seen big films which are moving to the OTT space, but I also think, you should start a pay-per-view model, which is what Kamal Hassan wanted to do with Vishwarupam, right? If you want to see the latest movie, pay $200 and watch it. As Tata Sky, for instance, all these DTHs have it, right? You can pay $150 and you can watch a film. I think that's the model they should eventually move into. And as far as newspapers are concerned, I think digital is where they should really be focusing, and they should do a subscription model where you pay for it, give some free content like what the New York Times does, and I think that's where we should be heading, and regional language.
Do you think it will become large enough? Because New York Times and Financial Times to some extent are great examples of subscription. The key question that people keep asking is, will it be large enough business? Because it's always been driven by advertisers doing on print and all that. So that's a question that...
Yeah. But now, given what's happened to the newspaper industry,
Yeah.
and the other thing also, I think in India, regional languages are key. You have to focus on regional content, go regional. It's not just in English, because the percentage of people who are actually reading your English, infotainment content is maybe 10%. Everything else is in regional language, which is Hindi, Tamil, Telugu. These are the three biggest. And then, of course, you have Malayalam as well, because you have very large NRI audience and so on and so forth. I think so. You have to focus on local languages, which very few companies at this point are. In fact, the Times of India launched their regional language websites just this year, or last year, towards the end of last year. So those are all late entrants. You should have started regional language like at least a year or two back. Why is something like, ShareChat doing so well? Because they've adapted to local language very quickly. And I think that's where the focus should be, in my opinion.
Now, got it. I wanted to add actually one more point to the earlier question that we were discussing. I think I missed that. It's very, very relevant for the listeners and viewers. You talked about entrepreneurship and what is the option for people post-COVID, given the job losses. I think one of the biggest structural change and opportunity I see for people to start their own business is the companies now, funded companies or SMEs or large corporations, are going to be in future very reluctant to be full stack companies, right? What I mean by that is they are going to be wanting to not build all capabilities within themselves, but have a variable workforce, have variable costs. That means they will look forward to partnering with smaller entrepreneurs, outside entrepreneurs, so that they stay flexible, nimble, and strong, which is a great opportunity for ancillaries, for SMEs, for local micro entrepreneurs to come up. So I would say post-COVID, you would see normally large corporations which were very focused, you again have to do something to the mic. Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, okay, right. So you will see that post-COVID, large corporations very open to partnering, outsourcing, working with outside vendors, as against doing everything in-house. Traditionally, all these big industrial houses and even large funded startups, we all were guilty of trying to do everything ourselves, pocket the margin ourselves, rather than give the margin to external people. Okay, right? But now we have seen the benefits of having a lean, mean, having low fixed overheads, which means we'll go a lot more for partnering. So therefore, you will see opportunity for entrepreneurship explode multiple times, or self-employment explode multiple times, because companies will say, even journalists, for example, media houses will say, I would be a stringer, be a freelance journalist, I'll pay you, I'll give you some minimum guarantee, but I don't want to employ you because employment is a challenge, which basically the remote working, the tools available, great internet facilities, and COVID having forced us to work from home and use all the virtual tools, plus the structural shift of companies wanting to outsource and partner rather than build it in-house. It's going to be a great opportunity for all of us to look at self-employment, entrepreneurship as a great option. It will not guarantee you a monthly salary, but it will give you a lot of satisfaction. It will also ensure that you are not left high and dry. Remember, monthly salary is the single biggest drug or addiction. Okay, right? That end of the month, money comes into you. Okay, that's the addiction we all love. Okay, I'm not complaining about monthly salary when I used to work for companies. I loved it. Okay, right? But it's also as an addiction. Whereas this will take you out of the addiction and make you self-reliant. I think that's a very important thing. So be aware. Forget about the past. The opportunity is going to be multifold because of people's willingness to open up. We are doing that in our own companies too. We have seen the challenges of having a fixed overhead dragging us down. So we want to partner.
Okay, so I think my last and I think most important question would be, given the economic downfall and given that people might start looking at entrepreneurship, space and maybe want to start up, there is likely to be a dip in VC investments, correct? I mean, VCs are not going to readily put in their money into entrepreneurs. So what would be the key criteria that would make them invest in you? If somebody wants to start up, what are the criteria they should be looking at to fulfill so that, they know that they'll get some VC funding at least?
Yeah. So firstly, Lata, I've said this before, I'm saying it. VC funded entrepreneurship or startup is a negligible fraction of the whole entrepreneurship or startup industry. Okay, right? Even though it gets the maximum amount of glamour, media attention, front page because of billions of dollars of valuation and all that stuff. And of course, not just media, people like me are also responsible for hyping it up, because it helps our cause. It helps our cause to raise more money at higher valuation. We do that. The fact is 99% of the startups are lifestyle startups, not VC funded. They don't need VC funding, nor they require VC funding, and they are extremely successful. Okay, right? So that's a caveat on VC funding. So if you are starting up, don't look at what VCs want. Look at, are you solving a large pain point? Follow the money. Are you going to add value? Are you solving a pain point? Will you add value? Will somebody pay money to you? Look at that and then start. Don't bank on VC money because it's less than 1% of the VC. Okay. Having said that, if you are like me and you love VCs and you want to go after VC money, here are the quick tips. Okay, right? One, VCs have a herd mentality. Okay, they have a flavor of the day. Okay, right? They go by where the world is going, where the money is going. Okay, right? So if you want VC money, look at where the world is going, where the VCs are going. Right now it is on anything remote, virtual gaming, virtual education, online education, virtual consultation, work from home, remote, anything that will get tailwinds from the COVID pandemic are things which VCs will like. Okay, right? So see, that's one. Once you do that, you will get funded. VCs have raised a lot of funds. They are waiting to deploy. They make their money in terms of management fees and the carry that they make. Nothing wrong in that. I don't grudge them that. But they need to deploy. They cannot sit idle for a long time. So other than this lockdown period and all that, when there is some amount of paralysis and status quo, after that they will open their purse strings. So don't worry about it. They will come back. But having said that, they will be slow. They will be more conservative. Valuations will be lower. It will take more time. If during the bullish runs earlier, if the deal used to close in 2 months, now you should plan for it will take not 2 months but 4 months to 6 months to close a deal. Deals will be slower, valuation will be lower. The amount of money they will write for your business, if they could have written 6 crores earlier, they will write 4 crores earlier. They will be conservative. So those things will be there. But those are par for the course. Those are kind of things that were always there during the up cycle and down cycle. Plan for a longer time to close, but don't worry about VC money. It's a very small section of startup and entrepreneurship. The best way to build your business is on customers, money, customers' advances, and the 3 Fs: friends, family, and fools. Okay, right? Catch hold of any of the 3. Get the money started. No better time, because people see again. Why do I say that? Because the consumer behavior has changed now. For the new consumer behavior, you as a new entrepreneur can design far more efficiently than an existing entrepreneur. Let me give a quick example. Earlier, when we used to sell in fresh menu, or food aggregator like Swiggy used to deliver food, they used to deliver to people. Why were people buying from fresh menu or Swiggy? They were buying because, one, it was quick, it was readily available. Within 30 minutes we will deliver. There was a lot of discounts. For 50 rupees you could get a meal and all that stuff because of cashback, discount and all that stuff. So the criteria in the college student's mind while buying was quick delivery within 30 minutes. In 50 rupees to 100 rupees I will get a 300 rupee meal, otherwise I will take, and it will be tasty and it will be available, varieties available. Those were the criteria for decision making. If you could provide these 3, you are done. Okay.
Right.
What is it now post-COVID? None of those applies. Today the student is willing to wait for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, provided his first criteria is not discount. First criteria is not time. First criteria is, will the food be safe? Can I get contactless? Can I get contactless delivery? Can I trust the brand to give me? I don't mind waiting for 45 minutes, for 1 hour. I'm not going to compromise.
Right.
I'm not going, even if they give me free, I'm not going to have a suspected food for free. I will pay my own money. So all this means that a new entrant can come and deliver. But whereas Swiggy, for example, has been optimized for pre-COVID days. Tens of thousands of delivery boys across the country so that you are able to deliver within 15 minutes. Suddenly they find 15-minute delivery, which was the first decision point, is not even relevant today.
Right.
So that's why I said incumbents, existing large players have a challenge. New entrant has got a great opportunity. So go ahead.
Right.
This is your time. This is your area. This is your opportunity. Don't waste the crisis. Create a new business. Be self-employed and run your business.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ganesh. It was wonderful. You gave a lot of insight, and I think a lot of people who joined were, were not people who were employed before, because some of the comments that I saw, I think they're looking to start up now. It's not that they've been in employment, but they are youngsters who want to do something on their own at this point rather than go in for a job. So I think this was a lot of...
I would like to tell them that please do that. You will never get rich by renting your time. When you're looking for employment, you're renting your time. Don't do that. Be an employer, not an employee. Okay, right? Whether you do it now, or you do it after 2 years of employment, that's fine. I'm not saying that you're rushing to it. You have to, but you will really get rich by not by renting your time, by using your brain to create value for yourself and for others. So that's a great thing your viewers have got. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ganesh. Thank you so much for joining me. It was wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.